All right, now, everybody. Quiet, listen to me. We're going to start a show. Now, some of you people have been with me before. You know it's going to be a tough grind, but we're going to have a show.
And welcome to Eclipse Day, everybody. I know, I'm excited. I can't wait. I mean, it's happening. If you're in a place with, awesome eclipse-ness, you're in good shape. I'm not too loud. I think these levels are always crazy. I know. It's just,
They do this to me all the time. I don't know what the hell they do it for.
Levels, Casey gets it. Casey gets it.
You just don't get it.
I don't get it. Casey gets it, and I don't get it. But it's great that we had quite the weekend, and we have quite the show for you. In fact, I will tell you that we are going to be jumping in to various eclipse-related video. So on the show, you'll be able to see what's happening. We have all kinds of complicated feeds set up, and Tony's on top of this thing, I think.
Thanks, Tony.
And he is going to make it possible for us to, in some way, participate. And even if you're watching, as most people do, after the show has aired live. And I have a note for those who are watching live, and that is that so that we can go out and see a little bit of the eclipse, the following thing is going to be happening. Our little chat right this instant will be recorded, but we'll jump back on, then it'll be live. So I just want to make you aware of that. I don't like to sort of hide the football on them.
We'll do it live. I'll write it and we'll do it live.
We will do it live most of the show, but there's a little bit now where we're going to jump out, see the little bit of the eclipse. You know, I have those special eclipse binoculars.
Oh,
and so anyway, but Tony's going to be adding little video or figuring out a way to share bits of the eclipse with us.
Tony.
And then we will go back and look throughout the show occasionally. Now, today, Kim, don't we have Brian Unger joining us in the second hour?
we do have Brian Unger.
Brian is the best.
Yeah.
I've been wanting Brian on the show forever. He is funny. He is smart as hell. He's one of the original Daily Show correspondents who went over there with Jon Stewart and made that show what it is. And he's a great political analyst, great political mind. He's also an actor. You've seen him in commercials. He's very handsome, so he's got that thing going. And anyway, he'll join us. But wow, I mean, kind of like the perfect mix of all stuff that's great. As I say, one of the minds in that Daily Show world, and his stuff was just so terrific. So I'm really delighted to have him on. It's also a true crime day. We'll have True Crime Corner, bottom of this hour. What else do we have, Kim? I feel like I'm leaving something out.
A little bit of Eclipse, a little bit of Courtney, a little bit of Brian Unger.
Okay, but I've got no other guests that I'm leaving out. Okay, good. The prediction game when it comes to eclipses, pretty strong. They can predict eclipses and precise eclipse dates more than 10,000 years into the future.
That's crazy.
Isn't it? I mean, I think that...
What?
Yeah. It's pretty great. And in fact, the next one...
The science is ridiculous.
Okay, well, these are scientists. In fact, not many people know this, but a lot of the research is done by Dr. Emil Schaffhausen III.
He's good.
He's
really good. Yeah.
He does breakthrough research in so many different areas. He's really under-heralded. Anyway... Madagascar will be a great place to see it in 5814.
No.
That is, again, day turning into night and back into day again. One of the original dudes who, just for a quick second on eclipses, who was on this is a Greek philosopher 2,600 years ago, a guy named Thales. And one of the things about Thales was that he was a rationalist. Most everybody back then was worshiping gods, at least one god, usually way more. They had their own mythology. And not to say that they all believed all of it all the time, but he was really wedded to a rational explanation of everything. And so he apparently made a prediction about a solar eclipse, and that had an immediate impact because it affected a war that was going on at that time. So he was able to predict an eclipse such that it affected the outcome of the war. The side that didn't have the eclipse predictor guy, they laid their arms down and said, "Okay, guys, whatever." It was a very
God's on their side.
Yeah.
So I wonder how he was able to predict it back then.
Yeah, it's interesting. They don't go into based on what I've read, they don't go into the mathematics in a big way, but he did have sort of a basic understanding of science, and he saw the world as a place sort of independent of the Greek gods.
Yeah.
And I mean, look, the ancient Chinese, the ancient Mayans, they also had a sense of this. So you find writings and you find references to eclipses, through time. I mean, this is stuff that, is being discussed now, I know, all this week, so I don't want to spend too much time on it, but it is interesting to me, that Babylonian clay tablets have references to it, and there are every manner of scientific references and then every manner of religious references. I mean, they were serving up people to sacrifice like crazy. I mean, there was by no means a rational, logical progression about science just because one guy, Thales, had figured it all out, or at least was able to come, they say, that he would come within the ballpark of when it would happen. He wasn't able to predict it the way we can predict it, obviously, now. In any case, and as mentioned by, didn't we have Dr. Andrew Fracknoy on last week? Mm-hmm. He talked about the fact that Stonehenge was, one of the things that Stonehenge is all about is eclipse prediction. So
I think it's interesting that throughout time, though, people have thought it was magic or somehow been drawn to it because it's just so out of the ordinary, There's something just, I don't know, ethereal about it, maybe rare about it that we seem to be drawn to.
I'll ding ethereal. I think it's worth noting, for the first time ever on this show, we will note him, Sir Isaac Newton. He was the real champ of all this because he had, yes, thank you, recorded studio audience for that applause, because Isaac Newton had the laws of gravitational force. And once you know that there is gravitational attraction, you know that there are certain paths of these heavenly bodies, of these celestial bodies that will follow a certain course. And once you know that, there is a predictive aspect to it. Now, again, I'm broad stroking it. You really need, the world is math, the universe is math, and so they had to apply math. But once there is a predictable pattern, math can be applied. And Sir Isaac Newton, he really unlocked the universe
I'm
in
all
the 1600s.
for heavenly bodies, as you mentioned there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, you just
Girl, you just moved.
Kim really likes the Randy references. I don't know. All right, I am going to, on this day of eclipse, I'm going to get into a little bit of, and we will get into politics, and I'll even get into some politics with Brian in the second hour. But right now, something has happened. We didn't get a chance to get to it. I think it might have happened after we got off the air on Friday. Happened over the weekend. And I think there's a follow-up to that $30 million heist story that we did get to last week. In any case, it's all included in this edition of Law and Disorder.
In the criminal justice system, the people,
Pimps, addicts, thieves, bums, winos, girls who can't keep an address, and men who don't care.
are represented by two separate yet equally important groups.
A cop, a flatfoot, a bull, a dick, John Law. You're the fuzz, the heat, you're poison, you're trouble, you're bad news.
These are their stories.
New York City is going to pay $17.5 million for forcing two women to remove their hijabs in mugshots. They reached a settlement in a lawsuit brought by these two women. They were arrested. And for the booking photo, they were made to remove their hijabs. The financial settlement was filed after we got off the air on Friday. Still needs the approval of a judge. But these two Muslim women said they felt shamed and exposed by the police officers requiring them to take the hijabs off. When they forced me to take off my hijab, I felt as if I were naked. I'm not sure if words can capture how exposed and violated I felt. I'm so proud today to have played a part in getting justice for thousands of New Yorkers. The police department changed their policy not on Friday after this hit, but actually when the lawsuit hit back in 2020. The police department is allowing religious people to be photographed wearing head coverings as long as the coverings are not obstructing their faces.
What do you think about that? Because technically, if you have a criminal, they could say they're religious, right? And then they could take off their hijab or whatever head covering they have and then look like a completely different person in the world. So if you're trying to get a photo of what someone truly looks like in order to, keep them in a database of criminals, would it not make sense then to have them in, with their natural hair or what have you?
Of course it will. Of course it will make sense to have them in their natural hair. I mean, right. I do not get this. I don't mean to be at all callous about religious belief. I think everyone is allowed to believe what they want and worship the way they want and even keep the customs that they feel are so sacred to their religion. However, you are operating in a society. And when you are arrested, and again, it doesn't mean you're guilty. I mean, I do want to, when you say a criminal, I do want to make it clear. There's no, when you're taken in for a booking photo, you do still retain the presumption of innocence, but that doesn't mean that you're allowed to hang on to whatever religious garb there might be that covers a portion of your head that does help identify you. I do not, and I don't mean to, run afoul of the progressives or the libs, or I don't know who, how everybody lines up on this politically, but I'll tell you, I don't think it should be abused, but I most certainly don't think that you retain a religious freedom that includes being able to wear the hijab for the booking photo. I don't mean it to be offensive, and I don't mean it to be difficult, and the whole process should take, less than a minute, but it's part of the way the society operates and law enforcement typically operates. Ms. Clark, who's one of them, was arrested on a violation of an order of protection. And she wept and begged to put her hijab back in 2017 when she was arrested. This is all while she was at police headquarters at One Police Plaza in New York. She had the headscarf around her shoulders, according to the complaint. Ms. Aziz, the second woman, was also arrested on a violation of an order of protection, said that she had a similar experience 8 months later when she was arrested in Brooklyn. She sobbed, as she stood with her back to the wall in full view of approximately 12 male NYPD officers and more than 30 male inmates.
And that's where they made the mistake, because if you're going to take the picture of the person with the hijab and the person without the hijab for whatever camera recognition type of thing, at least you can do it respectfully. And if that means having a Muslim woman that works at the police department take the picture when the hijab is off, then that's what it means. But if it's against their religion to have men look at you without your head covering, then I think you have to be as respectful as possible.
Well, I agree at least that this should be set up in a private area or a more private area or potentially private area if need be. It sounds to me like there was a quality, and this is what I really don't like, because there's a lot in the process of being brought into a police station and into police custody that's humiliating already. Mm-hmm. And it sounds to me like there's a level of humiliation here that's almost added on that is loathsome. It gives me a bad feeling. But it's still, in my judgment, something that has to be done, but it should be done in a private area. So I absolutely feel as though it should be done with dignity, if you want to think of it that way. These people have to be given their dignity. I think all of these people who are brought in should be given their dignity. I understand there's some pretty bad hombres who go in through this process. But in any case, that did happen over the weekend, and it's a boatload of money. There have been other instances of this, but this is really this is a huge, huge number. Again, 17.5 million. I think the actual damages were 13 million, and then there's a bunch of sort of add-on stuff.
I think I got it wrong earlier. Just to correct myself, when I typed it in, I think I put in 27 million, but you said 17 million, right?
Yeah, 17 and a half million. I didn't see what you put in. So,
yeah.
In any case, look, policies are changing, and this is one of those things that will need to get hammered out. But after a judgment like this, obviously the city of New York is going to be doing things differently. As I say, even when the lawsuit was launched, before the actual judgment, they did things differently. So that's the state of that. It happened late Friday when we got off the air. So I just wanted to relate it to you because it strikes me as again, I may be coming down on the wrong side, as I know I'm a law and order lib. I kind of feel when you get into that process, it should be done with dignity, but you should have to take off the hijab because sadly, it covers identifying characteristics, which is the reason they do a mugshot to begin with. Yeah. By the way, and let me just say this about mugshots. I wasn't for Donald Trump getting a mugshot. So that I'm not just some guy haul him in and take a mugshot. I don't know. Mugshots are designed to give police officers, I think, and the authorities, an identifying photo should they need it. You didn't need that for Donald Trump. That's why it didn't make any sense to begin with. But I just wanted to be clear on, mugshots shouldn't be punitive. They should be useful. So anyway, that's the latest on that. It was a pretty story jumped out at me. I'll put it that way. So
The Mark Thompson Show.
There's another story that we want to follow up on. Kim says she has a follow-up, potentially anyway, to that $30 million heist in Los Angeles. This is of cash. Again, this isn't a cyber crime. This is cash taken. And I want. So, is there new information, or there's sort of
there's
everything's coming? Yeah, go ahead.
Thoughts swirling around over this. That happened Easter Sunday, where there's a cash facility, a cash storage facility, which we're now learning these things exist around places, and someone they think goes in through the roof, and then gets the money and goes out through the side of the building, and what the new information is, and this is again, we knew this last week, that residents said they heard this mechanical whirring sound, right? And then some people said that their Wi-Fi didn't work on Easter Sunday. And I guess Wi-Fi jammers are common with crime. People use them all the time to commit crimes like this. But they're saying that whoever pulled this heist had a plan for storing the cash. It had a staggering amount of currency. The weight apparently could have been up to 3.5 tons. So how they got this all out this side of this building in this hole, and how they carried it away, there's a lot of people speculating about this. So, I mean, do we know anything new? We don't know anything new. But they also say, and this is something we were talking about last week and just kind of hypothesizing about, that this would have taken incredible research, tremendous knowledge, and technical skill regarding the circumvention of security systems and surveillance.
So it would be nobody on this show who would be involved.
It would not be anybody. Yeah. Tony maybe could pull it off.
Maybe Tony. Tony, you are the only one who could possibly.
Thanks, Tony.
Yeah.
I did everything right, and they indicted me.
No, definitely not him.
Yeah. But the details that have emerged apparently is one of the owners of a market just right down the street, said the Wi-Fi didn't work on Easter Sunday. So now we're getting more information from residents and business owners in that area that kind of helps piece together exactly what happened and why there are no security footage, why there's not even a still of a still picture of the car,
Wow.
trying to escape. There's nothing.
Wow, that's huge. So yeah, it feels very Ocean's 15 kind of thing.
It totally does. Yeah.
Man.
I wonder how long it took for them to plan all this out. Can you see him in the warehouse, with whiskey in front of him talking about the plan on the whiteboard?
I mean, that stuff really does happen. And we've just maybe seen an example of it. I did that show, Super Heists. I narrated that show, and this is definitely a super heist. And the one that stuck out at me was one that you're talking about, that they planned this for 18 months. They brought together these super thieves, basically. You know how it's like a movie. They bring, one guy's a safecracker, one guy's a demolition expert, one guy's they're all just, they have their areas of specialty.
Yeah.
And
one guy's got the muscles to carry the money. Yeah.
And and without giving you all the, running through all the specifics again, it involved cutting a hole, getting a tunnel going, all of that stuff, getting into the vault, and they got away with it. And it wasn't until, I want to say, a couple of years later that they were caught. And they were not caught as a result of any evidence that was related to their crime. They were caught because one of them had a girlfriend who got mad at the guy, and she decided to start chirping to the cops. And that's what brought the entire operation down.
You can't trust anybody.
Nope.
Listen to me. I don't want to hear you.
Exactly. Judge Judy gets it. Sometimes you got to keep your mouth shut. But this is a wild one. Maybe we'll never know, but when we do know, it's going to be a pretty sophisticated crew that pulls it off.
Don't you think that some of that money must have been marked in some way?
I mean, again,
can you spend it? How do you get rid of it? What do you do to make sure that you're not tied back to it?
Well, I'll remind you what we found out about this place that we didn't even know existed. This place with all this cash.
The money
This
facility.
is where the cash goes on its way to banks and other places. So that's why it's conceivable that there aren't serial numbers on it. I mean, I don't know. It's interesting. As I say, we're just finding out more. It's super intriguing, which is why it's kind of fun to revisit it. But all right, that is Law and Disorder.
Tune in again next time for more Law and Disorder on the Mark Thompson Show.
All right, that's it. Let's roll. Hey,
Let's be careful out there. The Mark Thompson Show.
I'm loving it. I'm getting all of these pictures being sent to me by people who are watching the eclipse. We had planned to be in Texas. My brother lives in Texas, and he is saying that the clouds cleared, and he's able to see it. I hope he's using the, prescribed glasses that are, key. I do. What do you think? 2,500 to 3,000 times they told you to use the glasses, don't look directly into the sun. I feel like that was roughly the number that we can settle on.
We went outside and tried to use the colander method, and it didn't work very well.
No, the colander method is usually good. You get a bunch of images on the ground. This is Russellville, Arkansas at this moment. Wow.
Look at that.
Very nicely done, Tony, pulling in these images from all around America and beyond. This is San Diego, California, as the moon retreats. It comes in, there is Russellville again. So, again, California, Mexico got it first, and it's now proceeding across other parts of the country. The path of totality. Actually, I saw a pretty funny article. I don't mean to. There's Texas. Looks a bit on the dark side. It might be totality there. Listen, those who've seen a partial eclipse, which you've seen today in California, if you're in California, you have a lot of listeners and viewers in California, and elsewhere, if you've seen a partial eclipse, which is frankly what most of us are seeing, it's cool. What we just saw in California is cool. Mm-hmm. The total eclipse is insane. It really is super cool. I mean, it's not even comparable So I've only seen one cleanly, and that was in Mexico in, I think it was 1990. Something like that, 91, I forget. It was early 90s. But I'm still looking for that next. I went to one other. We went to Kansas City to try to see it, but the weather wasn't that good. What is this, Tony, that we're seeing?
Oh, they're just showing like an animation how it all works and stuff.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, I just joined it late. Sorry, I just thought
no problem.
Cool sciencey stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. But there you see upper left in that spot. You could see in Tony's picture, they just showed the, almost approaching totality. But the winds pick up. You see it upper left there? Yeah. The winds pick up, and there is a profound quality to it. So I totally see why, people were sacrificing things to, bring our sun back,
The Mark Thompson Show.
I have a lot still to do. Brian Unger, the great Brian Unger, he's terrific, great takes on news as well as he was one of the first Daily Show correspondents. He was there at the beginning, producer and correspondent for the Daily Show. And it's true. My background is totality now. We're going with the black, but this is a work in progress. Yeah. It's dimming by me now, says Tommy Guy is here.
Cool.
Wow. It's just starting in Maine, says Robert. I love it. I don't see anything, says NorCal Mundo. You've got to go outside to see it. That is the key. Yeah. Try that. My first attempt at the colander method didn't work because the colander was too close to the surface. Oh. And James says, Mark is right. It's an incredible experience. We need more comments like Mark is right. And then I don't really care what follows Mark is right.
The next time this is going to happen is 2046. So we'll have a long wait. Yeah.
Wait a minute. Oh, in California.
What?
Mm-hmm.
So when is the next one you could go somewhere to see?
I think it's 2046.
No, it's not 2046. No.
Okay.
No.
All right.
I mean,
look it up.
Yeah, somebody look it up and tell me.
Look it up, Buttercup.
When the next one.
Google it.
Yeah. I mean, I do think that.
Kim, how are you?
Kim is usually so together on facts, although she's already made a huge error today. And I think she's wrong about this. Okay.
Sorry, not 2046, 2044.
All right. So already it's getting a little closer.
2044.
But that's literally the next time you can see a solar eclipse on Earth?
The next total solar eclipse in North America is not anticipated
that's not what
until
I asked
2044.
You. I didn't ask you about North America. If I want to get on a plane and I want to go somewhere,
right?
I think there's one in Spain in just a couple of years.
Oh.
Walter Fristow is going to be 90 in 2046, Kim. He can't go
no.
to,
he won't
any
be
kind
able
of...
to...
Yeah, exactly. Knock us down a date we can manage, Kim. That's all I'm asking. I mean, all right. Somebody tell me, after you've Googled it.
Google it.
Tell me where I can go, somewhere in the world. A total solar eclipse won't be visible from the contiguous U.S. Contiguous is a ding word. Until August 22nd, 2044, but totality will only occur over North Dakota and Montana, plus northern Canada. So even that one's going to be kind of a weak sauce everywhere else.
Right. That's why this one is such a big deal, right?
Yeah. Look, the important thing is that we're all going to be together for this entire time. And it will be 8/12/26 in Greenland, says R.J. Dunn. Thank you, R.J.
In Greenland, huh?
Yeah.
All right.
I mean, it's worth the trip. It's really great. But I also think there's one in Spain, but I might be wrong. So anyway, well, now I've taken up all the time I was going to use for
The Mark Thompson Show.
A chunk of Trump. But maybe I can do the chunk of Trump. Then we've got Courtney with True Crime Corner, and then Brian Unger, top of the next hour. Yeah, let me try to do it. So we'll continue to post eclipse pictures as they come in. Glad everybody could be here until the next one, which apparently is not for some time. Yes, thank you, Jane O. Come on for Jane O. Giving me Greenland and northern Spain because puedo hablar español. Mm-hmm. So I can go and I can comunicarme. I can communicate with the people. Mm-hmm. So I can't wait. Thank you, Jane. I wish I had something for you, but you
get nothing.
Sadly, we don't. Yeah, it's in the rich tradition of the show, you don't get much. All right, let's do a chunk of Trump.
Open wide.
Ready?
Here comes your chunk of Trump.
It's my favorite food.
With your first bite, here's Mark Thompson.
I have a feeling it's going to be beautiful.
Breaking news, Trump will sue the judge in a last-ditch attempt to delay or get out of this Manhattan trial. His lawyers are saying they're going to file an action asking an appeals court to delay the first prosecution of this former president. Experts say it's not likely to succeed, but boy, he does throw it all up against the wall and sees what sticks, doesn't he?
Can you imagine? I don't like your decision, Judge. I'm going to sue you.
Well, I mean, before the trial even has started, to try to just throw more stuff in the road to justice is kind of a Donald Trump move. It's right on brand for him. It's a week away from standing trial right there in Manhattan. Criminal charges that he falsified records to cover up the sex scandal he felt would hurt him politically. The irony there is not lost on me, I'm sure not on you either, that he paid that hush money and, told Cohen to do this, to pay her off, to keep her quiet, because it's embarrassing and there'll be a political stink on him. And now there's a whole trial and it's going to be reviewed all over again. I mean, it is insane that it's really the only trial that's making it all the way probably prior to the election, although his attempt here is to delay it even further. Trump was filing an action against the judge, Juan Merchan. The papers are not immediately being made public, but an online court docket where Trump's expected to file this Article 78 action. It's a special proceeding that can be used to challenge government agencies and judges in New York, anyway. It showed that this is sealed paperwork, but it's involved clearly in an attempt to sue Justice Merchan. Remember, he imposed the gag order, then he expanded the gag order on Trump. So this is an appeal in the form of a lawsuit. Unlikely to succeed, particularly so close to trial, but Trump slings it and just hopes something good happens. And something good happens for him a lot of the time. So a full 5-judge panel will consider Trump's request. In a separate filing with the appeals court, this just happened this morning, Trump is expected to ask the court to move the trial outside of Manhattan. It's weird because he is a Manhattanite. That's where Trump Tower is. But the argument is that he's so unpopular in Manhattan that it is wildly disadvantageous for the trial to occur in Manhattan. So Mr. Trump and his lawyers, say the New York Times, argue that the judge has a conflict of interest, citing his daughter's position at a Democratic consulting firm that worked for President Biden's campaign in 2020. Trump has repeatedly assailed Justice Merchan's daughter on social media. Assailed is a ding word. The judge could rule on the recusal request in the coming days. He rejected Trump's first recusal request that was filed last year. He's likely to do the same this time. And the idea somehow that they would move the venue is just not going to happen either. That's one thing that Trump is doing. And we continue with Chunk of Trump with one other thing quite relevant, and that is Trump now promising a deal. He always promises something, and he always promises a deal. I could clear up, well, you name it, Ukraine, the Middle East, But back during his administration, I've got a better health care plan. I've got a great infrastructure plan. I'm going to release it next week. You're not going to believe it. There's never been anything like it.
There's never been anything like this.
Yeah, and you never see it. Trump promises a deal on abortion that will please everyone.
No.
Trump is the guy who gave you the court that rolled back Roe v. Wade after those justices who were going through the confirmation process promised that they wouldn't touch Roe v. Wade, that it was settled law. That's what they said, that it was settled law. They didn't promise they wouldn't touch it. They said Roe v. Wade is settled law. They're all singing from the same hymnal, which is a liar's hymnal, right? Mm-hmm. Anyway, Trump goes on and he's taking on an issue that he knows has radioactivity around it. I mean, let's face it. It's one of the reasons that I think they lost midterms, and they'll likely lose a lot of seats in the House, and they may lose the presidency in large measure as a result of women showing up, or those who care about women's reproductive rights showing up on Election Day. He is pledged to make a statement on abortion this week, says Trump. And he's promising that he's going to get all the groups together and negotiate something that would make, quote, both sides happy. He says 15 weeks seems to be a number that people are agreeing at. Yeah.
I've received a lot of positive letters.
Yeah. The tactic has drawn praise from conservatives who, like Kellyanne Conway, Trump's former counselor. She said it's a reasonable conversation starter. It reflects consensus, said Kellyanne Conway. She said of a 15 or 16-week ban, citing her own firm's polling. She is a pollster. That's really those are her roots. People recognize that the lack of compromise, moderation, and reasonableness is on the side of the professional political left and the Democrats. Really? That's the lack of moderation and reasonableness on the part of the left? You have total abortion bans going up in red states. You think that reflects moderation and reasonableness? I mean, there is absolutely an inflexibility and a jihadism around this in red states and on the part of the GOP. It's outrageous. It's disgusting. It's grotesque the way they have taken women's reproductive rights and they have S-canned them. Trump has blasted other Republicans for speaking inarticulately, as he says, on abortion. And he realizes this is a problem for the party. That's why I think this is, look, he doesn't have any plan on abortion rights, and he doesn't have any plan on women's reproductive rights, and he doesn't care about anything but getting reelected, getting power, getting money. But he does have to play the political game, and this is why this is instructive, because he knows that this is an insanely damaging thing that he started. I mean, the breadcrumb trail on the Supreme Court reversal of Roe goes right back to Donald Trump and the Federalist Society. You're getting the worst of both worlds, said a political strategist who's worked on several presidential campaigns, including Trump's failed 2020 bid. So this is a GOP strategist. Pro-life groups still aren't going to be happy, and you're still supporting a nationwide limit that Democrats will attack. Publicly, the Trump campaign will want to keep their options open and stick to the line that he will negotiate something that everyone would be happy with, which, of course, is nonsense. This is a GOP strategist saying this. Trump's promise to address the issue comes as Republicans continue to struggle with how to talk about abortion, this issue. I mean, this is their biggest electoral stumbling block. It's shown itself to be that over the last couple of years. And you've got centrists, independents. You've got those who would pull the lever for Republicans, but for this. And the anti-abortion hardliners are out there, and they say anything short of a total ban is not acceptable.
Right. So how he can say and anger people on both sides of the issue, I'll be able to negotiate something that'll make everybody happy. Right. I'm already not happy.
That's your chunk of Trump.
That's it for this edition.
Well, I really enjoyed it.
But make sure to join us again next time
I think you might want to listen. There's nothing wrong with listening.
for another chunk of Trump.
The Mark Thompson Show.
Well, I am anxious to get to True Crime Corner. Sort of a high-profile case that does relate to the cosmos. We'll get to that. Smash the like button if you would. It helps us in the YouTube universe when you hit the like button. It's a thumbs up.
Your iron
it's
rod.
free. Appreciate that. And when you share the show, you share a short, you share a video, whatever, that helps expand our footprint, and that's free also. So I appreciate that. And subscribing is free. There's a lot of free stuff with the show. There are also a lot of you who stepped up and are part of the crew that, and it's a good community that supports us because we really work on sort of a PBS NPR model, which is if you like this show, like aspects of it, want to see it evolve and continue, then we need your support. And people support us every month. Patreon or PayPal links are under this video. They're under most of our videos. And of course, we have the website, themarkthompsonshow.com. Sometimes the website gets a little janky, so it depends on your ISP, your internet service provider. But I'm confident that, I mean, it's a cool website. I mean, everything's secure on it, but for some reason it comes in weird. Well, I know this is true on my ISP. I can't get it. So I have to go to Patreon and PayPal through the direct clicks that are under our videos. So very cool to have everybody here. Kim's News and then True Crime Corner as we continue. Mark Thompson Show.
The Mark Thompson Show.
On the Mark Thompson Show, I'm Kim McAllister. This report sponsored by CoachellaValleyCoffee.com. Millions of Americans are now on the move as they try to catch a glimpse of today's solar eclipse. The Federal Highway Administration estimates up to 5 million people will be traveling, trying to get the best view. They recommend travelers stay at their destinations a little longer to avoid the rush on the way back home. Delta Airlines is completing a task airlines have never done. 2 flights flying along the path of totality during the total solar eclipse. This according to Delta Airlines website. So they've got 2, one traveling from Austin to Dallas, the other headed from Detroit to Dallas. According to Delta, the path of totality and the flight's paths will come together in the middle of the flights. Delta pilots have practiced the timing of an S-turn, which will allow flight passengers optimal viewing on both sides of the aircraft during the 4-minute totality duration. So they've worked on how to exactly fly so that everyone can see what's going on.
Oh, that's really cool. So everybody gets a look on board. It's interesting because that's a way to get past the cloud cover issue, right? You get above the clouds and you can now see it. The question that comes up is, well, couldn't you fly along the route and follow, in effect, the eclipse from Texas all the way up to New England? And of course, the answer is, and we addressed it last week with Andrew Fracknoy, the professor of astronomy, who, by the way, I saw was quoted, and also on NPR, they had a whole, they used him in a news story, and I think on some kind of other major news carrier, they used him. So I feel I see Andrew Fracknoy as ours, you know what I mean? So, and I was kind of gratified by that. But anyway, he talked about the fact that it's moving too quickly. It's moving thousands of miles an hour. You couldn't keep up with it in a plane, but you could get above the clouds as they have in Texas. And what a cool idea. Give everybody a look at totality.
Back here on the ground in the Bay Area, there's some smoke coming from Angel Island today. It's all part of a planned burn event. This according to San Francisco Fire Department. Smoke from Angel Island can be visible from Marin, Contra Costa, Alameda, and San Francisco counties. That burn underway to reduce hazardous fuel loads. So it's okay. Former President Trump, as Mark mentioned, is planning to sue the judge in his hush money case in New York. The New York Times says it's targeted at the judge's gag order in an attempt to delay this trial. Trump charged with falsifying business records in an effort to cover up an alleged sexual encounter with porn actress Stormy Daniels. Encounter. Yeah, that's what it was.
Yeah.
The Biden administration...
Capital E on encounter.
Capital E.
I'm telling
that's
you.
right.
You just woo.
Yeah.
Woo-hoo. The Biden administration is unveiling...
I loved it.
Okay, don't do that. Come on.
It's a new plan from Biden to President Biden to slash student loan debt for more than 30 million borrowers. The plan would affect those with runaway interest, borrowers who have been paying on these loans for 20 years or more, and those who qualify for income-driven repayment plans. The White House estimates the plan could eliminate accrued interest on 23 million borrowers' unpaid balances. San Francisco Mayor London Breed traveling to Sacramento today to advocate for San Francisco's downtown recovery efforts by supporting 3 pieces of legislation authored by the San Francisco delegation. One would create the downtown revitalization zone in San Francisco for 10 years, streamlining approvals for various developments and introducing new financing tools to boost the workforce housing. Another proposal allows San Francisco and cities like it to create an incentive program to finance office-to-housing projects by directing local property tax revenues to offset renovation costs for 15 years. She'll also advocate for legislation that will allow cities to use enhanced infrastructure finance districts in downtown areas to direct tax increment revenue generated to conversion projects and other downtown recovery infrastructure investments for more than 30 years. So a lot in the works there. The NCAA Men's Basketball National Championship takes place tonight in Arizona.
Oh, yeah. That's right.
A lot of people
This is the
betting
end
on this
of
one.
March
Yeah.
Madness, isn't it?
March
Madness, I guess.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Number 1 overall seeded UConn will look back to win the national back-to-back titles as they play 1 seed Purdue at State Farm Stadium in Glendale. The Huskies are seeking their 6th national championship. Purdue looks to secure its very first.
Well, what's the betting line on this, Kim? Have you seen it, or Tony? Have you seen the betting line?
Not looked into the betting line, no. For that, we'll turn to 810 the spread. No, we will not.
Thanks, Tony.
Tony, do you know the betting line? It should be out there.
Google it.
All right, I'll find it. I can see I'm the only degenerate in this group. So, but you'd think if I were really degenerate, I would know the betting line. But
I would think so. I'm kind of impressed that you don't, actually. Well done.
Yeah.
For as far as people, we'll just eclipse it as on the way out. There's a few inmates at a New York prison that are getting to view the solar eclipse. More than 20 New York prisons will be closed to visitors today, the day of the eclipse, and they'll schedule lockdowns so that inmates can't see the celestial event. But 6 inmates at the Woodburn Correctional Facility sued the State Department of Corrections there, saying they are denied the right to see the eclipse and it violates their religious rights. The prison agreed to allow the 6 men to view the eclipse, but most inmates will remain in lockdown during this event.
Wow.
Joe Box and Little Anthony.
Joe Box and Little Anthony will be able to see the eclipse. Bravo.
That's right.
Wow.
This report sponsored by Coachella Valley
Joe
Coffee.
Fish, Sal the Shoemaker,
Yeah,
Joe
we get
Box,
the idea.
and Little Anthony.
Okay, they'll all be able to see the eclipse.
Even Sal the Shoemaker loves Coachella Valley Coffee. It's a wonderful place to find a huge selection of coffees and amazing teas. Really is quite the treat. CoachellaValleyCoffee.com. You can get your exclusive 10% discount just for being a Mark Thompson Show listener. All you have to do is put in Mark T at checkout, and you get your treat arriving on your porch in no time at all. Again, it's CoachellaValleyCoffee.com. Small batch artisanal coffee roasting, amazing teas as well. All the good stuff at CoachellaValleyCoffee.com.
It's super good. We love it.
That's right. I'm Kim McAllister. This is The Mark Thompson Show.
Feel it in your soul. The Mark Thompson Show.
Who's Mark Thompson?
He's fantastic.
Hey, which one of you is Mark Thompson?
Good day, sir.
I love it when you're 100% effective. How about that?
There is no defense for my conduct.
Smash it with your iron rod. Joe Fish, Sal the Shoemaker, Joe Box, and Little Anthony.
Mo Black's brother, Fat Andy.
Girl, you just woo.
Smash it with your iron rod.
No.
Seriously, what the?
Oh, drink it in. I love it. We're code red with an eclipse underway. Many parts of this great country can see that eclipse. We're not one of them, but we are working out something where you're able to catch a little bit of it from time to time. Mostly on Mondays, and there's no eclipsing this.
Oh, wow.
The love of my life.
Oh, that's so nice.
With her, let me finish. All right.
Can you let him finish, sir?
With her insanely obsessive true crime world that she immerses herself in. It's inexplicable to me. I don't understand it, Kim. But she is here every week faithfully. She is, as usual, overprepared. And she has, I think, a story that relates to outer space. And after all, on an eclipse day, that's kind of cool.
We need
This is True Crime Corner.
Let's pay a visit to Mark's True Crime Corner.
This is not a good neighborhood. I'm scared.
Now, here's your host, Mark Thompson.
How about it for Courtney, everybody?
Thank
Courtney,
you.
great to
Hi.
have you in the crew, in the mix.
Thank you for having me.
Courtney, what are you sharing with us this special day?
Well, yeah, in the spirit of the eclipse, which I think happens every, 8 years? I mean, the last one was 2017. So in that spirit, I chose a case
Yeah.
that featured astronauts. And it's difficult because astronauts are somewhat traditionally, not really arrested. Or,
Yeah, you don't think of them in relation to true
people.
crime much.
Yeah,
That's absolutely true.
And I chose a story that has a mention of my boyfriend in it. Yeah.
Oh, your boyfriend is another astronaut.
Yes.
Yeah, that she
Scott
has.
Kelly.
Yeah,
Yes.
Scott Kelly is.
Who I met.
Yes.
With his brother Mark.
Maybe you can tell that a little bit later. Or
I know. I almost put the picture of me and Scott in here. But
that would have been great. It really was like a big deal.
It was. He was even in the casino with us.
Yeah, I know. It was a big. We had a little brush with astronaut moment.
And do you know how I knew that he was there? Because I was following him on Twitter.
Yeah, no, she really does follow him. And just to button that out, to explain who those people are, for those who don't follow the astronaut world quite as closely as you do, they were the twins, one of whom is in space for the longest time, I think, right? And the other is back on Earth. And then the one twin comes down to Earth again, and then they compare their physiology at that point and sort of, right? It was a research project, essentially.
It was a research project to see how long an extended period of time in space, what that would do to the body.
Right.
And so Scott went up into space. Mark stayed here. As you know, Mark is married to Gabby Gifford.
Right.
And then they compared the physiology and the physical aspects of the body and their mental well-being after being in space for a year. They had just finished that project when we saw them in Alaska. So they were there talking about that experience.
But this story has oddly nothing to do with them, apart from the fact that they are astronauts too. So can we get to the true crime part of your segment?
I think that I would only have to say one word and people would know the story. And you know that word.
I think so. It's weird how that's become the thing that people remember.
That's become the thing that people remember. And that word is diapers, also known as maximum absorbency garments. And this is what this story became notorious for. And it's been mentioned all throughout pop culture after this happened, which was in 2007. And actually recently on a podcast, I was listening to a story about a man in London who had a fetish for diapers. And of course, the people talking about that referenced this case. And so I was reminded of this case.
What?
Now, who?
There's a diaper fetish? I don't even, should we not even touch that?
I didn't follow up on it.
You guys going to back away slow?
It really is. I know. I mean, I feel like we use most of our lives to try not to get into diapers, right?
Yeah. Can we get to the true crime? I don't understand what happens. I try to get her to the truth.
They do this to me all the time. I don't know what the hell they do it for.
I know. I try to make it happen.
It started with, a romantic connection, myself and Scott, and then I.
But this does involve a romantic connection and an obsession, and that's when the diaper thing comes in, because she wants to. As I recall, it's literally the only thing I do remember about it. There's a woman who is so obsessed with this guy that she wants to drive to wherever he is, and she doesn't want to stop to go to the bathroom, I guess, as she wears these things. But we'll get to that later in the story, I would think. That's not where the story starts.
No,
right?
The story does not start there. The story starts in Washington, D.C., actually.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
All right.
So there are some visuals that I sent. The story is about a woman named Lisa Nowak. And Lisa Nowak is born in Washington, D.C., and very early in her life, she sees the Apollo 11 mission. And from that moment on, she decides she wants to be an astronaut. I think she was 6 at the time. Mm-hmm. And she spent most of her childhood, including all of her younger schooling years, high school, with really big ambitions to be part of the space program. She graduates from high school and she's accepted into Annapolis. And what's really interesting in that is that actually Annapolis had just started to accept women in 1976, and she enters in 1981. And at the time, only 6% of the student body was women.
Oh.
Yeah.
So she's an extraordinary person by the looks of it, right? At that point.
At that point, she's an extraordinary person, and she has not really had your typical teenager, maturation growing up, because she's been so dedicated to her scholastics and also to various sports that she was playing. And so in Annapolis,
maturation's a dang word. All right.
And so if we can show the visual of Lisa with her husband. So she meets and marries Rich Nowak in 1988. Right. He was at Annapolis with her. And
so he's a pilot or something? Or?
Yes, he's a naval pilot. Yep. And so she meets and marries him. She studies actually in Monterey for a portion of the time after school. But then she's accepted into the space program in 1996. So the couple moves to Houston. And at that time, I think he takes a less active role in the Navy. I think he's flying in the reserves to take care of the kids. This is their house in Houston, Texas. And so she's in the space program, and she submits to be part of one of the missions. And so in 2002, NASA announces a crew for the space mission 118, scheduled for November of 2003. And that is where Scott Kelly comes in, because he was going to be the mission commander. Nice. What happens in February of 2003 is the Columbia disaster. And actually several of the astronauts who unfortunately pass in that disaster were contemporaries of hers in the 1996 in that class. Yeah. So she's that's delayed, and there are some mechanical issues. So she joins the she goes and joins the next mission, which is 121, and she's added as a mission specialist.
So she is a mission specialist.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
And so she's going to go to space.
That's the house they live in Houston. That's her with her husband.
That's
and
her with her husband. That's her as she's preparing, to be an astronaut in space. Yeah. So if you go down.
Okay. Go down to the next picture after that.
So part of her preparations for this, so she knows and meets and is friends with a man named William
Ophaline or something?
Ophaline, yeah. Thank you. It's William Ophaline. It's a somewhat interesting
cumbersome
spelling.
name. But anyway, he's very cute and looks very aerospacey.
Yeah.
I could see developing a crush for him.
In a movie that's loosely based on this story, John Hamm plays him.
I see that.
He's kind of a babe. Yeah, I can see it.
So they are friends, and they go into a training together. So if you go down, the crew for this mission is sent to Quebec, and they are sent into the wilderness for several days, and they have to survive with virtually nothing. And it's the middle of winter. And they're dropped into the middle of the forest, and they have to survive, and then they have to get back to sort of the mainland, if
You
you
know, they do
will.
this to me all the time. I don't know what the hell they do it for.
Well, they do it because they're trying to build that kind of toughness, right?
Well, yeah, as you can imagine, there's a bonding that goes on when when you have your life sort of threatened.
Girl, you just woo.
Yep, there you go. And so
you look good in that astronaut suit, baby. Yeah.
So this does bond them very closely, and they develop feelings for one another beyond what had been just friends and contemporaries. And so after this is completed, they start an affair. And they meet sort of illicitly. They're meeting in the cars, they're meeting at hotels. And I bring this up because in many ways, this was satisfying a part of Lisa's teenage years when she wasn't reckless and she wasn't doing things that she wasn't supposed to do.
She was so dedicated.
She had spent her whole life dedicated to this mission, if you will, of becoming an astronaut. So she has this affair for 4 years with William or Bill. And Bill is married to his high school sweetheart, and they have a couple kids. And eventually his wife finds out about this affair. Now, his wife finds out about the affair through emails. There was a lot of emailing going on in this relationship, even the next relationship he has, with some not safe for work content, which seems strange that you would do that when you're working for the government.
It's like weightless selfies of themselves.
I think selfies with, less clothing. So they have this affair. Now he moves into an apartment. She still has her home with her husband.
They get, because the wife discovers
it. She divorces him,
right?
Kicks him out. And so he gets an apartment. So she's there all the time. Even though she has her house with her husband and their 3 kids, she's there all the time. And she's telling neighbors, I'm his girlfriend. I'm going to be his wife. She's very friendly with everybody. She's talking to his mom all the time.
Wow.
But she won't leave her husband. She doesn't want to leave her husband. She doesn't want the disgrace of that within the sort of aerospace community, the space program community. And so she stays with her husband, and he grows tired of that. And he's at a house party, and he meets what will be the third part in this love triangle, which is Colleen Shipman.
Wow.
And so, yeah.
What?
Okay.
This is a picture of her in that second mission that she's assigned to. Mark Kelly is the pilot of that mission. And so that's where Mark Kelly comes into this story. She actually goes to space with the shuttle Discovery as a mission specialist on July 4th, 2006. So remember, she was selected to be on a flight in 2002 for 2003. But because of mechanical failures and other issues, she is not on a mission until 2006. And that mission, I believe, lasted 13 days. She was in charge of the mechanical arm.
But her boyfriend is not on that mission.
No, he's on a different mission.
Okay.
But yes. So she is with her boyfriend. He is kicked out by his wife. He has this apartment and this now new life as a single man. And he's frustrated with Lisa because she's not going to leave her husband. So he meets Air Force Captain Colleen Shipman at a party, and they start to have a relationship. Now, this is where the diapers come in, because Colleen lives in Orlando and Bill lives in Houston. So they're having a relationship that's long distance, and they travel to visit one another.
But wait a minute, just understand. But nobody's wearing diapers yet.
No. But I mean, the traveling with the diapers.
I get it. That's the reason.
That's why.
One's in Florida. One's
in Florida. One's in Houston.
Okay.
So Lisa's husband eventually finds out that she's having an affair. He says that they broke up amicably, but he finds and discovers some emails that are sent between Lisa and Bill, and so that marriage is no longer. Now Lisa wants Bill. She says, okay, this is what you've wanted for a long time, Bill. But Bill is with Colleen. He has moved on.
So as we see it, the woman on the right is with the guy on the left. And the astronaut in the middle, who's not looking very astronaut-y in that picture, she is the one who was left out. But now she wants Bill for herself.
She wants Bill for herself.
Okay.
She's like, okay, I'm ready to do this.
I think I feel the true crime part coming on. Yeah. Right.
So she comes up with this plan, Lisa Nowak, to confront Colleen Shipman.
Oh.
And the way that she's going to confront her is by packing a certain amount of things in luggage that we all would take to confront somebody, which is latex gloves, black wig, BB pistol and ammunition, pepper spray, hooded tan trench coat, drilling hammer, black gloves, an 8-inch folding knife, and
a partridge in a pear tree? No?
And some diapers.
The diapers, okay.
So she packs all of this in her car on February 4th. She's about 1,000 miles away from Orlando in Houston. And so
she's unannounced, she's going to confront.
She's going to go confront
Bill's girlfriend,
Colleen, because she has hacked into Bill's emails. And Bill is now sending similar emails to Colleen and Colleen to Bill. And so she knows that Colleen is on a flight home to Orlando. So she's going to meet her at the airport. And so she flies there and she has these diapers, maximum, what is it? They're called maximum absorbency garments. They're worn by astronauts for liftoff and
of course,
landing.
Sure.
Yeah.
So let me just, so she's wearing them for the drive there? Is that
yeah,
the deal?
She has gasoline in the car and diapers, so she doesn't have to stop.
Okay.
I mean, it was well thought out how to get there.
Yeah.
But then walking around an airport at 1 a.m. in a really, really bad disguise with cameras was not thought out very well.
And the reason she's walking around an airport again, I'm sorry.
Because Colleen lands from seeing her boyfriend.
Wow.
And so Colleen lands at 1 a.m. and guess who's there to greet her and help her with her luggage?
Wow.
Ooh, it's a wild idea, but it just might work.
Lisa. And Lisa's so conspicuous that the 15 people that have landed at 1 a.m. at the Orlando airport are all suspect of this woman.
She's holding a sign that says, "Bitch, you need a ride." Yeah,
exactly. The sign just has a knife on it. And,
exactly.
If you go down in the visuals, you'll see some of the airport footage, surveillance footage, and you can see Colleen and Lisa. And then if you go down, you can actually see Lisa following Colleen out. Now, what Lisa doesn't calculate in this entire plan is A, how obvious it would be at 1 a.m., but B, that Colleen's luggage is not on the flight. It arrives 2 hours later. Oh. So now she's stuck at the airport in this disguise, following around this woman around the food court for 2 hours.
Wow.
Trying not to look suspicious. And Colleen finally gets her luggage at 3 a.m. and she goes to her car. Well, of course, Lisa's following her. Now, Colleen has seen this woman and is very concerned because she says that she wasn't on her flight. And what happens is Lisa goes up to the car door. She's knocking on the window. She's asking Colleen to let her into the car because Colleen has gotten into her car. She's saying that her boyfriend left her there. She's crying. She's actually sobbing. She's playing into sort of Colleen's kindness and sort of emotional connection to this woman who she feels sorry for. And the minute that Colleen kind of puts her window down a little bit, Lisa sticks her hand into the car and sprays her with the pepper spray.
Wow.
Now, Colleen keeps her eyes open, puts the car window up, and then drives away quickly and then goes to find help. They arrest Lisa in that car parking area, carport, where she is trying to dump out all of the objects that she's brought with her in this duffel bag, which again is suspect. And so they find the duffel bag. Colleen identifies her as the woman that sprayed her with the pepper spray. And so Lisa's arrested.
Wow.
Yeah. So this is Lisa leaving the courthouse. This is a article that happens that's published the next day, February 6th, in the New York Daily News. And of course, there's a lot of conversation about this. And mostly it's people kind of sticking or being interested in this aspect of the diapers just because it's such a unique part of this story. Also that they are astronauts. I mean, again, it's somewhat rare.
Yeah, everybody in this story is an aviator.
Everyone in the story is, yes.
So
if you go down then NASA comes out, they put Lisa on hold, if you will.
Right.
On February 6, 2007, they have a press conference to talk about this. This is the deputy director of the Johnson Space Center in Houston, and this happens on February 7th. So if you go down on the visuals, if you're watching, you can follow this. This is Lisa. This is after her arrest. Now, she makes bail, and there is not a trial. Basically, what happens is she pleads guilty to one or two accounts, but it's burglary that she pleads guilty to. Now, because several of these crimes were attempted kidnapping, attempted murder, attempted bodily harm, she pleads guilty on December 7th, 2009. This trial was scheduled for December 7th, but she pleads guilty November 10th, 2009 of burglary and misdemeanor battery. And so she's given a year probation and the 2 days that she served in jail. And that is what happens.
So she really skates on it kind of, huh?
Yep, exactly.
And there the two are.
Those are pictures of them. So on the left, that is Lisa Nowak talking about the ankle bracelet that they've given to her in the probation to monitor her activities.
And what were her comments? She said, look, I lost control of my head. I don't know what I was thinking. Or did she kind of ever speak publicly about this?
Yeah. In the courtroom, she directly speaks to Colleen Shipman. And it's really a position of, I didn't mean to scare you. And that my actions on that day were out of line. And there's no mention of the duct tape, the knife, and then basically
pretty much
murdering and dismemberment kit that she had in the
I didn't
car.
mean to scare you. I meant to kill you.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what this picture makes me think, though? This is the days of perms. Look at that.
Right?
Look at those perms. Wow.
I know.
What was the year again? It was
true. This is 2009.
2009.
But I mean, I think that's a holdover from 1981
right.
when he was in Annapolis. But they don't make mention of that. Now, here are a couple of cartoons. These are actually from 2007. So they're, they're obviously kind of connecting with the story about, her being an astronaut and the
Endorsed
diapers.
by NASA, super absorbent diapers.
Exactly. If you go down to then, this is a book. So now, Colleen and Bill get married and they move to Alaska. And so Colleen writes a novel called Eerie. And this is published in 2015. And it's a supernatural teen horror crime novel. And it has really, I don't know, it had 4.3 out of 5 stars review on Amazon. So maybe it's good. But she lives there with her husband. She was also part of the Alaska State Troopers, but she continues to work there. Now, in 2019, there was a movie called Lucy in the Sky, and this is where John Hamm comes in because he played Bill in the movie. And it's loosely based on this story. But this is more about the stress and the psychological stress that comes with the pressure of being in the space program.
I see.
And less about the direct activities of what happened. And so Natalie Portman plays Lucy. Yeah.
Wow. So in the end, this was an obsession and an ill-conceived plan to eliminate, or it seems eliminate. I mean, as you say, with all that stuff on board that, she was trying to kind of take with her, it was an attempt to bump her off or get her out of the picture. The competition for this guy.
Yeah.
And but in the real end, she doesn't really pay a price for that, apart from the probation and the guilty plea.
Yes. No, it's true.
I mean,
she didn't accidentally pack that stuff. And if she had the chance, she was going to kill and dismember Colleen. And the idea and the thought was a lot of people go missing at the airport. And so if this happens at 1 a.m. at the airport, it might not look that suspicious. But what she didn't take into account clearly are the cameras at the airport and the terrible disguise that she had put together. So the plan wasn't
the disguise
totally
definitely
thought out.
needed to work. That's for sure.
But She's only 1 year probation. She lives in Houston now. A very quiet life.
I mean, I got to say, she was ramping up to the most amazing life and something that she could really be proud of. And then, as usual, the heart, the heart wants what it wants. Sometimes it wants something that somebody else has, and then you lose yourself in it, and it's obsessive. Yeah. You'll find out, Courtney. You still have a lot of road ahead.
Hopefully a long road ahead before diapers, but yeah.
But this is very interesting. Kim, any questions before we excuse the witness? I thought it was quite.
No, I was just looking for John Hamm in an astronaut suit. That's what I was doing.
I should have included that. I know.
Oh my God.
He's definitely handsome. I'll say, what do you think Lucy in the Sky got on Rotten Tomatoes, Mark and Kim?
Oh, that's a great question.
What do you think?
It got a 65.
What do you think, Kim?
I'm gonna say it got a 32.
Oh, Kim is much closer. It got a 21.
Thank you.
I think the fans gave it a 35. Maybe fans is an embellishment. People that watched it.
Courtney, thank you. We love seeing you. Happy Eclipse, Courtney. Happy Eclipse.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. It was an interesting story to learn more about. So
that's True Crime Corner for today.
True Crime Corner, only on the Mark Thompson Show.
Very excited. Yeah, whenever Courtney comes through, it's exciting. Also excited about our guest who's coming up. You'll let me know when he gets here, but I sort of will mention this, and I'm kind of glad he's not here yet for this reason only, that Tony just got back from Hawaii. So Tony was in Hawaii for, how long were you in Hawaii?
Thanks, Tony. 6 days. Or Saturday to Saturday.
And where were you in the island chain? Where were you?
We're on Oahu, but it was like the northeast corners of the North Shore. It was like a town, I think it's pronounced Laie, L-A-I-E. Yeah.
Kim, are you familiar with it? You're a big Hawaii person.
No, but I know it's by the Polynesian Cultural Center. So it's around
Kim, how are you?
Kind of
Turtle Bay Resort, all that.
Yeah, it's an area that's not Waikiki, which is heavily tourist. He kind of went to an area that there's a lot of locals living back there.
He likes to immerse himself in the local culture when he goes somewhere.
I didn't pick the place. I just kind of joined my family, tagged along, but they picked a really good spot.
Let me build the narrative for you in the future, if you would, please. But anyway, so how many of you were there, Tony?
12.
12 people?
In the house, yeah.
Do you have a picture of the house? Do you have any pictures you can share with us real quick while we wait for Brian?
That was the backyard.
Wow.
Oh, beautiful. Look at that.
So when you crested that berm, it was this.
Oh, nice.
Wow.
Here's this was Easter morning.
That's extraordinary. It's stunning. These are beach scenes for those who are listening.
Pictures
just
don't show everything because here's what it actually was every day. Just wind and rain every day.
Oh, did it really? It really was blowing and raining.
Rain every day was that.
That's the tropical world sometimes, huh? What is the way you get to that part of the island? So you'll fly to where? You fly to?
We fly to Honolulu and then just drove. Yeah.
And then, like, how long a drive is it?
Oh, it was like about an hour.
Okay.
About an hour.
So Kim, I haven't been to Hawaii in so long. These places you drive like away from the tourist spots, sometimes the weather's a little funkier there, and sometimes it's a more desolate area, but it's really... how would you describe these areas?
I would say the weather probably would, if it's that windy and rainy, it's probably going to affect most of the island. But there's the windward side and the leeward side, and so you are going to get more dramatic weather on...
Yeah. It just hit those mountains, and everyone else got like a nice day. Then us were like, man, it's raining a lot here.
Yeah, the mountains.
A little bit windy out there.
I
would still say a windy day on Hawaii is still better than a lot of days other places, right?
I suffered through it.
Yeah.
Not bad. I'll get to Brian in a second. I do want to just recognize and a big shout out. I believe this is shadow producer Calvin Wong. Who is
big shout out.
Yeah, big shout out to Calvin. Did the used astronaut diaper get sold on eBay? Courtney, I will follow up with her on that question. I am fairly confident the answer is no. But lots of microclimates on Hawaii from Karen. Yeah. That's certainly true. That's kind of what you were saying. Yeah. Tony, it's good to have you back. We have a series of challenges for you here in the studio.
Thanks, Tony.
Yeah, can't wait to dump them all on you. So we look forward to that.
The Mark Thompson Show.
This guy an original correspondent and producer on The Daily Show. And I didn't know this till I was kind of just looking, at certain stuff I could throw into his introduction. I really like this guy, as I mentioned to you before, for being one of those people who can give you a serious take on something that's happened politically. He can give you an absurdist take. He can give you a satirical take. He's just such a versatile mind and talent. And he was named, this is the item that I'll throw in. He was named one of Entertainment Weekly's 100 most creative people in entertainment. Wow. You've seen him also in series television. You may have seen him in commercials. He's just got one of those looks. And I think he's really a jewel. And it's his first appearance on this show. Put it together for Brian Unger, everybody. Come on. Look at you, Brian Unger.
Thank you. Can you hear me okay? Am I coming through? All right.
Yeah, you sound good. You sound good.
I'm a fan of yours, by the way. Let me say that. And I love your show. And I laugh every day that I see your myriad postings across all the platforms. And you guys just give me a lift every day. So thank you.
Oh, that's so sweet. Why didn't we come to Brian earlier is my question. I didn't realize you were going to start with that. That's terrific. I do want to ask you, I don't know exactly where you are, but I feel like you might be close to the path of totality on this Eclipse thing. Am I right-ish?
Which, by the way, is the word for the day. I mean, if
totality?
I hear the word totality one more time, it's insane. Like my neighbor, I just passed her here in Georgia, and she said, "Look at almost totality," and I'm like, "You're a grunter. I've never heard you speak." We're at dusk here. We're in a weird dusky state. Just odd enough to give Marjorie Taylor Greene the fuel she needs to whip up a new conspiracy theory.
It is a natural event that is ripe with these insane, impossible theories. But by the way, I didn't realize, this is great that you're there for this question, really, and probably because there's a lot of great about these states that are red states that we sort of, throw into the rubbish. But the reality is there are people who are of all political persuasions, and there's a whole, vibrant intellectual community there around colleges and universities, et cetera. But with that lengthy preamble, what is it like to live in a state where, politically anyway, it's dominated by the right?
Yeah, it's an interesting. I'm still educating myself. I don't want to go down too far down the rabbit hole and bore your audience, but after about 2 years of being here, Georgia is basically predominantly Republican, but Republican in a very sort of Ronald Reagan. Kemp is kind of like a hero here. He very pro-business, certainly not socially liberal in any way or progressive, but most of those issues he kind of pays lip service to. There's a Trump faction here. It's small. It's smaller than I thought. I'm in Red Cherokee County, which is above Fulton. And there's literally as soon as you cross this border, you're into dense blue territory in the Atlanta region. But once you're up here, it leans, I'd say it's about 70% red. And folks are, they seem liberal to me now because I remember Reagan. And I remember what an asshole, what I thought he was at the time living in New York City. I was like, this guy is like an arch conservative who's going to ruin the world. But I have this romantic sort of feeling toward him now because those are the moderates today. Those are the centrists.
It's so crazy how that's changed.
Yeah.
Absolutely insane how it's changed. There was some saying what do you get when you drive outside of Atlanta, Mississippi? I mean, it's something like that, where there's, you really do get what you're talking about, which is this watershed political area, which is outside of the big city.
Yeah, these counties, it is a county. It's identified by counties, Fulton and Cherokee and Cobb and DeKalb. And, each one has a certain kind of, and I don't mean this in any racial way, but complexion, a political complexion, a kind of, these counties can have their own identities. And I have found here in Cherokee, which, when we lined up to vote for the first year last year in the Senate race here, and was the big thing, it was Herschel Walker was running on the Republican ticket.
Yeah.
And I thought, these people are so nice. And I was in a line outside a church, which is another distinguishing characteristic of voting here. It's like you vote in a church. Okay, cool. I'm just going to go with the flow. But I thought everyone in the line was just lovely. And I was chatting everybody up. And I'm with my partner, Nick, who's Black. And we're feeling already just kind of like outsiders. But everyone was so lovely, and we voted and we left. And then that night I saw that my county went 75% to Herschel Walker. And I'm like, you can't judge these books by their covers.
Yeah.
A werewolf can kill a vampire. Did you know that?
Yeah, that's right. That's Herschel. He made a show of it. I will say this, and I've often noted that one-on-one, and even in a small group around a dinner or whatever it may be, these people are all lovely. I mean, they're not, I shouldn't say all to the person, but in general,
I'll tell you what, we've had a more challenging time kind of, insinuating ourselves in the Atlanta city life social circles than I have out here in the, hinterlands. Our neighbors are all Republican. We have 11 farms in our community. They could not be more hospitable and nice. Now, they may be talking, crap behind our backs, but then they're faking it so well by inviting us to like a barn party last weekend. You know what I mean? It's just like, it's very folksy. It's lovely. It's a love thy neighbor kind of approach to things. There's no discussion of politics. There's no discussion of religion, any kind of faith whatsoever. It's all just, how's your cow doing? How's your horse doing? Can you help me find a farrier? Where's the best priced bale of hay? Do you know? I'm going to Tractor Supply. Can I get you some chicken feed? It's pretty much that.
All politics are local. There it is. How is your cow doing, Brian?
My cows, we don't have cows. We're the only cows we don't have. We embrace my neighbor's adjacent farm that abuts my fence line, and they have so many cows. I've just said, screw it. We'll just pretend they're mine. We have enough horses and other animals in this place. I don't need any more cows. No.
I've seen you on a horseback. You're totally convincing on horseback. So have you always had that?
Nationally, I was a reiner for a while and competed when I lived in Los Angeles. I took a year off and just competed in reining, which is quarter horses and doing all kinds of weird stuff on quarter horses. But then my accountant said, "What the hell are you doing?" And I said, "I don't know." And he said, "You're either going to go broke or get audited. So why don't you just stop this horse stuff?"
Horses are expensive, aren't they, Brian Unger?
Mark, they are expensive. They're often compared to yachts. They don't really. It's difficult to monetize them unless you are selling horses to Taylor Sheridan on Yellowstone. Which some friends of mine do.
Were you on an episode of Yellowstone? I feel like you've been in a Western or some kind of Western.
I've been in 3 episodes of Yellowstone, but I was only a doctor, a surgeon. I was operating on Kevin Costner and then his niece.
Wow, that's very strong, though. That's a strong brag.
Yeah, no, I have had to. It's a career highlight was telling Costner to drop his laundry and sit down on the bed while I had my way with
again. Very strong.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Wow. So it's interesting because now you can get those acting roles from wherever you are, right? You put yourself on tape to a casting director, or is it whatever? Is that how it comes? Or
yeah, if anyone else is going into acting, like active casting sessions, please let me know. I have not. None of my friends is doing that. We're all at home in our 3rd bedroom with a psych, and we're executing these humiliating style, audition tapes. And, so, even my agent moved to Boise, and I'm like, how how far out of the game am I? If I'm in Atlanta and you're in Boise, basically I have about 0.0 chance of getting a job.
Wow.
Yeah, so I mean, I don't sweat it. I mean, roles come through. You just, bang it out on your iPhone and send it off, and that's it.
I mean, the thing about casting and going in personally, I know this from voiceover, really, which is the only kind of castings I've attended. I'm grateful for direction in the moment. So I think when you have to just put yourself on tape, you have to be good at that. I mean, knowing. And when you look back at the performance going, I'll do it more a little bit this way. But when you're really, unclear on what exactly they want, it can be so much harder, don't you think?
There are these like two schools of auditioning, and one is total bullshit as far as I'm concerned. And that is the going into an audition, come in as the character and be an embodiment of the person. And it's the person that you created in your head, and you deliver that person to the producers, and you walk out and you let it go. And I find that to be incredibly unproductive because frequently, if not most of the time, you come in with the wrong character, and they go, no. He's not that at all. You're playing him way too mean, which I just did a Christmas movie, a Lindsay Lohan Christmas movie, which is going to be on Netflix. And I didn't have to audition for it, and this happened. I just reported to set. I was with Tim Meadows, and we're doing scenes, and I came in, and from the very first frame that rolled, I opened my mouth and delivered the first line, and the director, I heard cut, and he comes in and he goes, he's not that at all. He's much nicer. He's much more this. He's much more that. But I didn't have any kind of creative work with the guy before I had come in to do it. But in auditioning, you get that feedback, and that's so essential to like giving yourself a fair shot at it. So that you go, oh, I'm going to adjust, right? So you make these adjustments, just like in voiceover, and so that is gone. And we're sort of now just sending these auditions out into the ether, and most of the time they're missing the mark. In this case, there was no audition for you, but oftentimes you'll get the part based on an audition, and then you're saying you show up to the set and it's like, that's not really the way we want you to play this, even though they cast you off the audition. When you get a part through an audition, the great thing about that is you're the guy. And no matter what you say on set, you're the guy. You can't screw it up. Once you show up, once they've like said, yeah, you're the guy. We want you. You're
so you don't need to sweat being recast, particularly.
And so if you don't audition and you show up, and this was like the moment I said something and the guy yelled cut, I was like, oh my God, I gotta like take 5 minutes and like rethink this character completely.
Wow.
Luckily he was generous enough to do that. And I suppose that is one skill actors have, which is they can adjust in the moment, and they I'm sure that's a real premium on that. Also just because you guys who are good work off the other people. You listen to what you're not just waiting for your line or lines. You're working off of the moment. To the other actor at all, and just basically focus on myself.
Right.
Quality of my appearance and voice.
Going through the script, me, not me. Right. Did you ever think that the Daily Show, when you were doing the Daily Show, I mean, it's a good thing that you may be tired by now of the reference because it was so long ago, but I think it's a great thing to have in your history, and I hope you're not tired about it.
I never get tired of it. It's hard. It's just like unfathomable to believe that it happened that long ago, because it just seems like yesterday. But I think that the architecture of the show is the same. The overall production design of the show is the same. The correspondent role hadn't even been invented. I had come out of CBS News and was filled with piss and vinegar and ready to get revenge on the journalism world. And so I leaned into that. All the folks I'd worked with at CBS News, and so I'm sort of flattered as hell that it continues to sort of chug along. I'm not really psyched with how it's been handled over the past year or two with Trevor leaving, and then this just sort of like leadership vacuum where they just can't kind of get it together to figure out what it's supposed to be. And
there is a weird thing, though, Brian, wouldn't you say, like, just to the extent that they've had this rotating coterie of people through who are all correspondents, every time I see one, I go, oh, that's totally the person you want. Then the next person comes and I go, oh, that's totally the person you want. Oh, that's, I mean, literally, I've seen nothing but people, all of whom are capable of hosting that show and giving it a great, whimsical, serious, an energy that The Daily Show has always had.
Yeah, I mean, I do believe in, that show's the thing. And I do believe the show will, obviously will outlive any one talent. And that's obvious. And you're right. But I think it's really unfair to these guest hosts who they keep sort of like, sort of dangling the carrot in front of them. And then they shift strategies. I'm sure the job is John's if he wants it 4 days a week. He probably doesn't. And doesn't need it. But, there are so many good, capable people who worked there for years who could do the job. You're right.
It's also, you're right, one of those things that I've experienced in different ways, and I'm sure these people are really experiencing it. They want that. Because that's who they are. They're performers and they're gifted, and they bring so much to that role of hosting the show. And when you fill in, you're going, how did it go? I really want this to work out. They work really hard. They're all, as I say, very talented. And the other thing is, and this is kind of what I thought you were going to say, the writers write differently for each person. So for just the ripple effect of kind of substituting different people in there, there's a real effect on the staff because they try to write with a different voice for a Brian Unger or for whomever, Desi or whoever is in there.
It's true. It does. It fluctuates. I think there are some people who haven't been great fits that I've seen. There are others who seem very naturally inclined to fill the chair. I do know this. It's like, it's such a one-of-a-kind job. It's such a great job in television. There's not really one like it where that nightly you can sit there and wear the arrogance of the journalist and present satire and spin on news and media too, which I loved doing, was just kicking media in the balls whenever I could, and shredding their alleged ethics and having a lot of fun with that. But I think the only thing I regret is just not sticking around. I think I was like one of these journeymen in TV, and I was always of the mind of like next. And I always say this to any young person who's willing to listen to me at Home Depot or wherever they are, in the aisle or wherever I'm walking. I stay in the job you have, stick it out, just stay there.
Your stuff was just so good, but I mean, I could also see, wanting to get to whatever the next level is, the next thing is. And you seem to be one of those guys who is looking for an additional challenge, an additional situation that could enrich your life in one way or another. So I understand it, but I think you're right. I mean, who knew, though, to be fair to you, that the show would evolve the way it did?
No, for anyone on any hit show, and I mean like long-lasting hit show, if anyone is being truly honest, they will tell you they have no idea that it was going to be a success. We had no idea that The Daily Show would be on 30 years. In year 3, when I took off, I was exhausted and ready to just do anything else. I had no idea it would run forever. And so I am, of course it ran forever.
Right. So let me ask you about the media, because you mentioned it. The challenges that the media, the news media I'm really talking about, the challenges they're faced with, I think very difficult in some ways. Obviously, the media has let us down, the siloing of information. We are all in our own cocooned world and echo chambers, et cetera. But the media is dealing with a guy who, cranks out these lies, just fire hose of lies all the time, and he's the leader of the GOP, and Donald Trump. And then you have a party in the GOP that has really pledged a kind of unprecedented in the modern age fealty to this guy. They really are ready to do whatever. They literally just scuttled that border package because he told them to. Mm-hmm. And on the Democratic side, you have also sort of a fractured coalition, but I mean, compared to the GOP, it used to be the complete opposite. You remember, Brian? I mean, it was the old adage, Democrats fall in love, GOP falls in line. You don't have that anymore. You have this balkanized world of the GOP, yet they've now fallen in line behind this guy. Anyway, again, just to knock around a bit with that question, I guess what I'm saying is the media is challenged in ways to cover all of this, it seems, that they weren't challenged in these ways prior.
Yeah, and it's complicated, and it's easy to critique, and it's easy to sit on the sidelines and make fun of or just dismember any writer or talent. I think when we say media now, we have to kind of break it down. I think cable news is suffering from its own issues in dealing with Trump. I think they're an ad-driven media, media enterprises. So they are dependent on developing faithful, loyal audiences that come there for the message. There are sometimes when MSNBC becomes sort of like, I've become intoxicated on a constant left-leaning liberal agenda where it just feels like, is there any other perspective out there that might be somewhat argumentative or valuable, worth listening to? I mean, I have to turn it off sometimes. And then when I listen to CNN, I can see all you're probably this way too, but I watch it like with X-ray vision. I see all the producing. I see all the effort. I see the like work that goes into being quote unquote balanced or not. I don't know. I see when I read the front page of the New York Times or the Wall Street Journal, or you can see the stitching, you can see you can hear the debate in the editorial rooms on what their point of view should be and what we're going to go with, and their work to be fair or not. I think the thing that just bothers me more than anything in the media, and I think this was true when we started The Daily Show years and years ago, is that the media tends to just glob onto a kind of phrase or a story or a moment and then parrot it, even though now they say it's false or it's incorrect, or people don't fly that close to the ground in real life. They're at 30,000 feet, and all they hear is the phrase. So when they hear Trump's now Trump supports abortion rights now, for the states. Like if you boil it down to just kind of like a banner, but yet the story is more complicated. He basically is now shifting but sure. I always feel like nuance, complexity, details, context gets lost. I think they have a horrible job. I think media has a horrible job covering this guy, for sure.
Well, he's serving up such BS consistently, and it's tough to, and I often, you hear this all the time. How come the media doesn't call him out? Call him out. I always hear that. I'm like, how should that? Now, I see also the both sidesism that you're talking about, that, you describe them trying to get to. And I also see the one sidesism that you're talking about, which is on MS or whatever. I think the both sidesism exists. Like if you're looking at cable offerings, I would say the both sidesism exists in a way on CNN. The one sidism exists on MS, And after that, there's a ripple effect, and you get into sort of these huge networks that exist on this platform, YouTube, where we are right now, TYT, et cetera, where there are, there's a progressive movement, and you kind of know what you're getting.
I think that Mark, there's one strategy that I don't think I've seen anyone employ, and that is just full on ridicule. I believe that if a man is operating outside the ethical guidelines and the news standards that are so cemented in these news organizations, he knows he's got them in a box. He can say anything they want. He's smart. He knows how to play the media, and he knows how to play news reporters but I do believe that one shift I've liked about Biden is that he's ridiculing him. He's ridiculing him on social media, and it really pisses Trump off because, as we know, narcissists, sociopaths, the vanity issue is a real problem for them when it starts to get chipped away at or it starts to undo them. They get very irritated and they start behaving erratically, and they make themselves look even worse. I say just ridicule the guy all the time. Call him orange, call him fat, call him whatever you want to do. I'd like to see more ridicule because, you're never the one failure of The Daily Show is that the more you attack the issue, the more you never change the hearts and minds of anybody who believes the other way. If The Daily Show had been successful as a satirical tool to really, really improve the world, if it had been successful, then we would be in a different place. I think it just, I'm not sure. I think we're in personalities here, and we've got Donald Trump is I don't know. I just say let's just ridicule the guy every day. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, there's certainly enough to ridicule. I mean, the imago that is Donald Trump, with the billionaire thing, the slow mo walk to the helicopter that was supported by what's his name, Mark Burnett. I mean, he created really the image of Donald Trump as a successful billionaire when we all know that he's anything but. He was a long way from that. But so there's no shortage of things to criticize, and you're right to mention, I think, and it's interesting, I'd forgotten, Biden has gotten a couple of clean shots in along the way. I don't know that a Biden-Trump debate, which is kind of the thing that everybody envisions, this sort of cage match thing that we do, I don't know that it wouldn't be a debate won by Joe Biden. I mean, Trump basically is vacuous. He'll say a lot of stuff, and he is charismatic, Brian. I will give him that.
Yeah, I mean, he has the ability to. I mean, he's a carnival barker. I mean, he's really good at getting people into the tent, and he can shift his message on a dime. Joe Biden doesn't necessarily do anything on a dime. I mean, he kind of doesn't. He's more like an aircraft carrier, and Trump's more like an Apache helicopter. But I don't know if anyone is going to be helped by a debate either with these two guys.
Right.
I hope that we don't even do them. I think it would be nice to just skip them.
Well, they're not really debates. I mean, the point, it's a TV show. I mean, that's what they do. And you're right. They don't benefit anything, yet they're really, again, a part of the American political landscape now, to the point that, I don't think you can ever flush them. I mean, they're just going to be. And when you don't debate, it's, oh my God, he won't debate. I mean, and they still use the term debate, even though, as I say, it's a TV show.
Trump reminds me now of some of the prime ministers who led Italy. At this point, they've been brought up on so many different criminal charges and absent of any real sort of like conviction. But Trump's like notorious now.
Yes, that's a great word. Yeah.
He just is notorious. He just has he's just a snake oil salesman who happens to be running for president against a statesman who spent his whole life, trying to do something for the state of Delaware and the rest of the country. And then so the whole thing on its face is so absurd that we find ourselves with this sociopath who is and and got followers. Apparently,
a lot. And I love the parallel to a Berlusconi or one of those type guys, because the one thing that Berlusconi had is he had media. He owned a bunch of media. He was a media mogul, so he could control the narrative. Here, Trump doesn't need to own the media. He's got Fox, which is, it seems insanely committed to his reelection, alongside some other lesser watched offerings. But he's got media behind him, so they're ready to spin and justify whatever he says and does. It's when you stack these charges of what this guy is, what we know he was all about, it seems disqualifying on its face, and yet here we are.
Yeah. That leads me to be dubious. I'm dubious of all the polling data. I don't believe the polling data is even like remotely close to what the real sentiment is out there, because you can't define this Republican Party. You can't define them, as you said, as you alluded to, like they're all balkanized, and within the party, there are so many different factions. My neighbors don't like Trump. And I thought, well, you're Republicans, so who are you going to vote for? So I don't know. Do they go in and hold their nose and like pull the, touch the touch screen and do it? I don't know. I'm not sure. But
you got, this is a great thing, because your little world there is kind of a bellwether of something. I wonder, it might be interesting to kind of watch to see if they,
it is a really strange place. It's less politically developed than what most of the country and what media think it is. I think one thing I say about Georgia and Atlanta is that they have really good like press relations. Like Atlanta's kind of like this giant small town, and it's the capital of the South. It's the largest Black population in the South. It's a thriving business community with so many companies based here. But yet there's something about it that feels very small and very, and not like we talk about DC being provincial or some other place. It just feels like a small town. And, it's more, I moved to this state because I was like, I want 2 Democratic senators. That was my only criteria to move out of California. And I got it in Georgia, but because there is a strong centrist vibe here. And I don't agree with everyone who lives here, but like, I think when I look at Brian Kemp and I look at the Republicans in the House, there's the Assembly here in Georgia, most of them just want to make money. I mean, they're just all about making money. Like they don't really want to get caught up in like the messy stuff. Marjorie Taylor Greene, who's in the district that is next to mine, she's the messy one. She's the one who keeps all of this crap going, and you can just feel that people here aren't comfortable with that either. So I don't know. It's a bizarre state. In that,
I love hearing that the people there are not necessarily on board with Marjorie Taylor Greene, because it seems as though she becomes more outrageous so to serve some electorate in her district or whatever. And obviously also her personal brand. There's so much about politics now is about personal branding. But I am glad to hear that at least in your area, I know it's not her district, but it's adjacent, it's not landing.
No, and like she's in her district is like the city of Alpharetta is like it's like going to Glendale where the Americana Mall is. You know what I mean? And it doesn't play to a lot of very successful young tech workers who are making great livings. It's really diverse. There's a huge Indian population in Georgia and in some of these really affluent suburbs outside of Atlanta. They lean Republican. They favor low taxes. They send their kids to, not all of them go to private schools. They have great public schools here too, but they lean Republican, and they're not into this kooky sort of Trumpist, burn down the house kind of like Republicanism. That's not their thing. I had never seen this before until I moved here, Mark. There are stores like golf shops around Alpharetta, and they sell Bush Reagan baseball hats as kind of like a fun thing.
Wow. That's terrific. That really is terrific.
it's like it's supposed to be ironic, but it's like I just find it to be hilarious that's their brand.
Right, right.
And that's the brand here most.
Yeah, their party has drifted.
Yeah.
But it's so cool to visit with you. Let's try to do this more. I love
yeah, and like I said, I love your show, and I've always been a fan of yours, and you're so smart, funny, and I've enjoyed you over the years, and yeah.
That's so nice to hear, pal. Thank you. Coming from you, that means a lot. So give our best to all the Georgians, and
I'll say hello to y'all's friends down here.
Yeah, there you go. That's the spirit. Brian Unger, everybody. Thanks, Brian.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you, guys.
Bye-bye.
The Mark Thompson Show.
It was great. I loved it.
How would you handle this? We could try ignoring it, sir.
Morning.
You cannot say you love your country.
Where are my weed smokers at?
Stay at home and get baked.
Yeah, love my Brian Unger. That was fun. Good to get a little sense of what's happening in the South, in Georgia. Well, we've done a lot today. I'm just reflecting on it. We got a little bit of a dose of Tony's vacation from Hawaii, which was cool. I thought that was added value, Tony. I hadn't actually put it in. I was hopeful that Tony would serve up a little bit, and he did. Then we got a little bit of true crime with Courtney, the astronaut story. If you missed it, I suggest you go back. Gosh, those people had so much going, everything right in life, and then romance and desire took them the wrong way. It was brutal.
What?
Yes, it's true. A little bit of Trump. Trump is suing the judge in his case in Manhattan.
What?
One case that is likely to get to trial and to conclusion prior to the election, even though I think, as all the cases go, as you know, I feel as though the documents case / espionage case, in which the former president is accused of jacking all of these documents, taking them to Bedminster, to Mar-a-Lago, to Manhattan, and it's demonstrably the case that he did this, and he waved the documents around. These are top secret. That's the case that would land cleanly, and yet that's the one that will likely, because it's a Trump judge down there, never arguably make it to trial. Hiding the ball, Trump abortion statement clarifies nothing. Of course, he says nothing, but he says it gets a headline and tells you, I'm going to work it all out. There's never been anything like it, and then he doesn't work it all out, or he doesn't mention it again.
Don't talk to me that way.
Well, I'm just saying it's absolutely the case.
That was very inappropriate.
Hi, all from Petaluma. What up in Petaluma? I love my Petaluma. Mackay. Haven't seen Mackay in the chat in a while.
It wasn't much of an eclipse here in Petaluma. We had a moment to run out and check it out. We used the colander method, and it was like, okay.
So, as I was saying before, and if you just joined us, I'll just share this with you quickly for the future. The partial eclipse, it's a thing. Mm-hmm. It's worth checking out. It's a big natural event, this partial solar eclipse, but the sun is an insanely powerful star. And as a result, even a partial eclipse, there's enough sun that it blasts past even a significant partial eclipse. But a total solar eclipse does completely cover the sun. So you just see a little ring, and it does get dark, and it does change the landscape, and the winds pick up, and the animals scurry, and there is a real intensity to it. But it is a day's drive from what a partial eclipse is, So I just mentioned that because I'd love for you all to be able to see a total solar eclipse, and I'm going to go to the next one in northern Spain. I've already decided we're getting it's Greenland or northern Spain. So if you're up for that, when is it? In a couple of years? Is that what we figured out?
Google it.
We already Googled it. In a couple of years, I'll join whatever listeners and viewers of this show want to do, I will meet you all there. Northern Spain is where at least I can speak the language. But Greenland would be fun too. So
Chile,
yeah. I don't know what time of year is the
August. Both are in August.
Oh, August. So we could do Greenland. Tony, would you be up for a Greenland trip to see the total? So you're not into the eclipses, are you, pal?
Oh yes, I am. I love the space stuff.
All right.
Thanks, Tony.
All right, Tony could do it.
All right.
Kim, might you join?
There's a possibility.
That means a no. Okay. All right. So we're looking to fill Kim's spot right away. This is very exciting.
I'm sure you can fill my spot easily. I'd like to see it. I'll come.
Oh, look at that. Wow. She was very well done. Yeah.
I mean, when threatened with the filling of the spot by someone else, all right.
Multiple cats and solar eclipse trip. Mark is truly an odd guy, says Andrew Peters, who is the designated troll of this show. I don't know why multiple cats makes me an odd guy. I mean, there's nothing wrong with having, I love animals. I think Brian Unger's got the right idea. He's got horses. I'm sure he has dogs, cats, etc. It's a great way to be, I think.
What I thought was interesting about him is his thoughts that, about his neighbors and about what he's seeing politically in Georgia not really matching the wider perception of what Georgia is.
Right.
We think Marjorie Taylor Greene, and then we think the whole state's full of crazies, right? And he's looking around and his neighbors are kind and they're inviting him for barn dances and there aren't, it's not like Trumpville. So. Yeah.
Well, it's, and as I said to him, it's just always striking how simple it is, how straightforward it is when you're talking to people. We relate as people back and forth.
Yep.
Even I talked to Michael Schur about those people he meets at those Trump rallies. You see his videos all across YouTube.
Yeah.
And these people are, nuts, some of them. He says, yeah, they're, But when you're talking to them, they're oddly nice people. One of them I'm still in touch with, and he says, hey, next time you come through, we won't talk politics. Let's just get together for a beer. Yeah. So you realize that people want to connect. We're social creatures in general. But, yeah. I'll go to Greenland since I can fly for free, says Trevor Starr in Hollywood.
Okay.
Wow. Who knew? Anyway, I found an airline, I'll tell you about it tomorrow, where you can fly to Europe, France, and even French Polynesia for not a lot of money. I just found it last night.
What's not a lot of money? Like from LA to...
Yeah,
France.
To Paris for $400.
Oh, that's pretty good.
Come on.
I'm thinking round trip.
That's round trip.
Oh wow.
I said to Courtney, let's jump on this. Let's go to Paris. Leave Kim with the show. Let's go soon.
Sayonara, sucker.
We may be doing that.
Sayonara, sucker.
Yeah, we might be doing that. So, all right. I think I've used up all my time today. I yield back. Is that what they say in Congress? I yield back.
I yield my time. Yeah.
I yield back. I'm reclaiming my time. I'm reclaiming my time. So, Tony, is there something I have to do before we sign off? Can you let me know, please? Is there anything?
The Mark Thompson Show.
I want to recognize Angel in the Bay Area. Come on, Angel in the Bay Area. The big shout out.
Big shout out.
My down payment for the Greenland spot. Yeah, jump on now.
It's a group trip.
I love it. I absolutely love it. Couldn't that be fun? I doubt you'll be able to get away. Kim, I don't think you're going to be able to get away to join us.
I have to bring the whole family. You're going to have to deal with kids.
I don't know. I don't think the answer is no. This is just got this email saying
I've received a lot of positive letters
asking what language they speak there. Wes, thank you for the $5 super sticker. Big shout out.
Big shout out.
The language in Greenland.
Google it.
I think it's Danish, maybe, or some. What do they?
Google it.
Okay. Well.
Greenlandic. The official language is Greenlandic.
Greenlandic. Give me a break.
I'm just saying.
Greenlandic.
And this is their new hoax.
Yeah,
According to
Greenlandic is a
Wikipedia.
hoax language. It's not even a real language.
Greenlandic. That's
Oh
what they
my
speak.
God.
What languages are spoken in Greenland?
Yeah.
Greenlandic. They speak. Mm-hmm.
What is Greenlandic? It's like a native people language. Oh, there it is.
Yeah.
Even Greenlandic today is the official language.
Yeah.
Well, what's it like?
I don't know.
All right. Well, I'm going to look at. Look, I'm sure many people who will be dealing with on our solar eclipse mission will be speaking English because we are. Or rich American tourists. I mean, they'll make sure that they speak to us. So
they do speak Danish. Mm-hmm,
Danish. Well. Come on, Mark Thompson. That was a very good guess. Oh, I'm going to take my prize off the air. And
the kids in Greenland, they are compelled to study Danish and English. So the chances are good you'll be able to communicate.
I'm loving it, Kim. I'm loving it. Thank you. Greenlandic is a very steamy version of Dutch, says Thomas D. And Luis, how about a $5 super chat?
Big shout out.
Meet and greet in Greenland. I'm in. Will it be more than a $50 entry fee? Probably, sadly so. Looking forward to tomorrow. And tomorrow,
I'm Shadow Stevens for the Mark Thompson Show. Bye-bye.
Pulitzer winner David K. Johnston joins us tomorrow.
Time. Bye-bye.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks for the love and support. After Party Live goes down now. Until tomorrow. Bye-bye.